Here.
Kim Baldwin. Here. Bruce Moreland. Here.
This evening, we are welcoming Kechi resident Doug Woodan, who's a pastor of Grace Connection Church in Valley Center, to lead us in invocation. I ask that you remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance to follow.
I have a question. Will my prayer be in this open stuff?
Absolutely.
I should have wrote it out. Let's pray. Thank you, Lord, for this day, and I hope we were able to rejoice and be glad in it. I thank you for everyone that is represented here, from the citizens, law enforcement, city staff, and council. Lord, it's a privilege to live in a free country, but with privilege comes responsibilities, and I ask you just give wisdom. You say if we need wisdom, we just ask you, you'll give it to us liberally. And I know as a pastor, when you try to work things out, you have people pulling you from all sides. Everybody knows what's best. And so I ask for wisdom tonight, as long as they serve, that they would do what is right, not only in their eyes, but in the eyes of the community, and most important, in the eyes of you. And I was thinking today, is with this snow coming, whether it's 4 inches or 40 inches, we don't know, but Lord, I pray, I just reminded what Isaiah wrote, though your sins be as scarlet, they shall be white as snow. And I know the snow is refreshing, it's beautiful to look at, and even in our desperate situation, we're all sinners, we make mistakes. Because of what your Son did for us on the cross, we can be pure and white as snow. So may everything we do here be for your honor and glory. Again, give wisdom to everybody that makes these decisions. And again, thank you for this opportunity. In Jesus' name we pray, and everyone says,
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll move on to approval of agenda. Is there any additions to the agenda this evening?
I would just say, under approve, or to the agenda, no, I'm sorry. I thought we were doing this on the agenda.
Nothing for the agenda?
Nothing.
Okay, do we have an executive session this evening?
I don't think so.
Okay, we'll strike number 12. I would entertain a motion.
I move that we accept, or we approve the agenda.
Striking item 12.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, with striking item 12.
Second.
Okay. Motion by Councilmember Moreland, second by Council President Hedstrom. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Moving on to approval of consent agenda. Council, are there any items that you want pulled from the consent agenda for discussion?
Item C was not received.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna comment before. That is just kind of a placeholder until we get those revised reports from our financial advisor.
Okay.
We'll just leave them on.
So we're just gonna leave that on there for now?
Yeah, that's why I just have any revised documents on there, so it's a placeholder, so we don't forget it. We can remove it or leave it there.
Yeah, I would remove it
Yes.
for the approval,
Yes.
but then, yeah, it's there for a reminder. Yeah.
I move that we approve the consent agenda with the removal of item C.
Second?
Motion by Councilmember Moreland, second by Councilmember Brewer. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Moving on to the communications section. Do we have any Kechi civic groups or committees tonight to speak? Okay. Okay.
The Kechi Care Committee met last week, and we are still looking for volunteer members. So if you have some time that you want to donate so that we can have a fair this year, we're looking for members. We meet on the 3rd Thursday of the month at 7 o'clock.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to community announcements. We have a special presentation this evening by Kenley Zering, the Cedric County Chief Deputy Register of Deeds. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. My My name is Kimberly Ziering. I'm the Chief Deputy for the Sedgwick County Register of Deeds. I'm just here to talk briefly about property fraud and notary fraud and why our office has these tools to address those. Fraud is related to property, and notarization often goes unnoticed until it becomes a serious problem. And our focus at the Register of Deeds office is early awareness and prevention through information. So right now we have two free alert programs. How do I advance it?
Let me just advance it for you. There we go.
Thank you. So with the property fraud alert, basically a property owner would just sign in with their name, and anytime anything was recorded under their name, they would get a notification via email, phone call, or text, and it would tell them the type of document that was filed in our office and the date that it was filed. Most of the time, it's either they bought or sold their house, or they paid off their mortgage, and it's something that they can look at. If they're not sure if it's something they're familiar with, they can call our office and we can take a look at it. If it happens to be fraud, then we would turn them over to the law enforcement and to file a case. Notary fraud also is very similar to the property fraud, but it's for the actual notaries. So if they notarize a document, real estate document that's filed in our office, they'll get the same type of notification, and they can view it with their log and make sure that it's legitimate. And same thing, if it's fraudulent, then they can notify their legal and law enforcement to file a case. That is seeming to be the biggest trend right now. Is we're seeing fraudsters copy and paste the notary block and throw it onto another document. And this tool will actually help that notary verify that. And same process, they call our office, we can look up the actual document and make sure that's legitimate. We've even seen them go as far as, you can go on Amazon and get a notary stamp anytime. And they don't really go through much training. So it does happen. So it's very important to keep that log so that you have that. But I need your guys' help to spread that word about these free programs. So I'm sure you guys are familiar with like home title lock. This is just like that, but it's for free. So, but yeah, I also gave you a few pamphlets because a lot of people don't know what the Register of Deeds office does, and basically we're the file cabinet for all real estate documents that are coming through the county. So if you buy or sell your home, you pay off your mortgage, those come through our office, we file them, and it's on record. We also offer the passport program, so you can come and actually make an appointment online, and we'll help you right away. We also have our military, veteran and military discount program. We created that just to let people know that the Register of Deeds office can file the veterans and military discharge papers in our office for free, and we can do 5 free certified copies at any time. What else? With the property fraud, they seem to be targeting a lot of people that have just paid off their mortgage, and also the elderly. So keep an eye out for those, and I highly recommend just signing up for it. It takes like a minute or two to get in there. And then on our next slide is just our contact information. You can call us anytime, and our staff can help you. Did you guys have any questions?
Thank you so much for that presentation. Does anyone have any
I have
questions
a
at all?
question, just a comment. I've been a notary for years and I file documents with them all the time. It never occurred to me that someone would copy a deed that's already been filed to take my notary stamp. So I love this. I'm going to share it with my office. So.
Yeah, and share it with anyone that is Yeah.
That's wonderful. Thank you for coming out this evening. I really appreciate it. This is great information shared.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Okay, before I go on with community announcements, council, does anyone have any community announcements that they would like to make?
I guess after what we heard earlier about the city clerk purging the list of notification, I guess, how's that, I know that, I was told at one point that we did it annually, is that correct? Okay, so, that kind of surprised me, because for years we just kept it going. So, just to kind of make sure that those of you who weren't here for that meeting, if you are somebody who wants to be on the notification list for when there are special meetings called, whether it's for the planning commission, the park board, or city council, make sure that the city clerk has your updated contact information so that you can be contacted in the event that there is a special meeting and you are interested. Because I know even though they put it out on Facebook or on the city website, you might not see those. So if you do want to be included in that list, get with I'm the city clerk.
Thank you for that. Okay, I have a few announcements for the community. The Kechi United Methodist Church continues to offer their community dinner meal every Tuesday night from 5:30 to 7:30. I've heard from several residents who are enjoying gathering with others to share a meal and conversation, so go check it out. We all know that we have a winter storm warning beginning at noon on Friday the 23rd through Sunday the 25th with snow and bitter temps expected. Please be prepared. For more information, please visit sedgwickcounty.org/emergency-management/ click on Be Prepared. I also encourage residents to sign up for their Civic Ready Alerts too. That is on that same web address. For Kechi locals, stay tuned to Kechi Police Department's Facebook page and the City of Kechi Facebook pages for public safety and city alerts should they arise. And if it snows, please help our Public Works Department by moving your cars off the street to assist with their road plowing when that happens. We so appreciate when you do that. And please check on your neighbors. Stay warm and safe this weekend. Next, a new opportunity coming up. Let's talk about it, Kechi. This will be opportunity for conversation with the mayor and up to 2 city council members beginning February 12th, 2026 from 6 to 6:45 p.m. here in council chambers. Drop in, ask questions, share concerns. The plan is for this time to be a regularly scheduled time prior to each city council meeting on the 2nd and 4th Thursdays of the month. We'd love to have you join the city council meeting at 7 p.m. afterwards. A new project I'm kicking off as mayor is the Pledge of Allegiance project for the city of Kechi city council meetings. This is the 250th birthday of the United States of America. This year, as mayor, I wanted to do something to celebrate as well as involve our youth. So this is a youth-focused opportunity. City council meetings, again, are held the 2nd and 4th Thursdays at 7. So I'm inviting our Kechi youth who live here, or your grandparents, or your auntie, or your uncle live in Kechi and you visit here. Whether a young person would like to sign up to lead the Pledge of Allegiance at a city council meeting by themselves, with their siblings, their friend group, neighbors, or they're part of a scout troop, homeschool group, choir, you name it, or you visit your grandparents, Councilmember Brewer, or other relatives, and you want to lead the Pledge of Allegiance, I invite you to sign up and come do just that. Youth will be free to leave following the Pledge of Allegiance. They are also welcome to stay, if so desired, to experience a city council meeting. Anyone interested can contact Mayor Joni Harris at jharris@kechiks.gov. January 29th is Kansas Day, which commemorates the day Kansas officially became the 34th state of the United States in 1861. The Kechi Park Board will meet February 2nd, 2026 at 6 p.m. in council chambers. And February 5th, 2026 from 5 to 7 p.m. is the first public open house regarding K254, focusing on Rock, Webb, and Greenwich. The meetings will be held at Northeast Magnet High School, which is at 5550 North Lacey in Bel Air. Come hear what is being considered and give your input. And that ends all of the community announcements that I have for this evening. Anyone have any last comments they want to add? Okay. Moving on to public comment. Do we have public comment tonight, Debbie?
Shelby Collins.
Shelby Collins, welcome. Come to the podium. State your name and address for the record, please, and then you have your time to share.
My name is Shelby Collins. I live at 521 Deerfield Circle in Valley Center, Kansas. Can I go ahead?
Yep, go right ahead.
Good evening, council members and residents of Kechi. Again, my name is Shelby. Even though I'm not a resident of Kechi, I drive through here every day on my way to work. I stop here often to visit friends, and I shop at one of my favorite places, Valley Floral Greenhouse. I care about this community not as just as someone who passes through, but as someone who supports local businesses and visits this city regularly. I'm also a professor at the School of Criminal Justice at Wichita State University, and I teach future law enforcement professionals. Many of my students hope to work for agencies like the KBI, the FBI, and local departments across Kansas. One of the core topics I teach is ethics and professionalism, including how they should conduct themselves on social media if they want to build trust and advance in their careers. That's why I'm here tonight. I'm concerned about the tone and content of the Kechi Police Department's official Facebook posts, many of which are authored by the Chief of Police. These posts frequently mock suspects, use sarcastic nicknames, and include memes or AI-generated images that ridicule individuals or citizens who ask questions. In one case, the chief posted a selfie with a suspect. In others, he used humor in ways that blur lines between public safety communication and entertainment. Posts like these aren't just unprofessional. They create real liability for the city. And research shows this isn't a subjective concern, but a documented risk in law enforcement. This isn't about whether humor is allowed. It's about whether the official voice of a police department should be used to belittle people, dismiss community concerns, or portray arrests as jokes. When law enforcement communicates this way, it affects public trust. It affects how young people view the profession. It affects how future officers, like the students I teach, understand what professionalism looks like, and it affects how the community sees the department that is sworn to serve them. Across the country, we've seen how unprofessional online behavior by law enforcement can create real consequences for criminal cases and for public trust. For example, in the Karen Reed murder trial, an investigator's inappropriate messages became public and were used to challenge his credibility in court. In Philadelphia, a major review of officers' social media posts revealed derogatory content, forcing prosecutors to reevaluate cases because those officers could no longer testify. In a 2023 national analysis of police social media scandals, including one from Wichita, showed that when departments use humor, memes, or mocking language online, it often leads to disciplinary action, damaged community relationships, and questions about the integrity of investigations. These examples demonstrate that what officers post online doesn't stay online. It can undermine cases, weaken testimony, and erode public's confidence in the entire department. So I'm asking you, the members of the City Council, to review the department's social media practices. Consider whether the current tone reflects the values of Kechi, and ask whether the style of communication builds trust or erodes it. I'm not here to attack anyone. I'm here because I care about this community, I care about the profession, and I care about the example we set for the next generation of officers. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Shelby, for being willing to come and share. Council, would any of you like to respond?
I
Is the
actually
PD
have-
allowed to respond?
Yes, sir. We'll allow you to do that.
I guess I actually, I have this on for my discussion later, but since you came, I did wonder, does the city actually have a policy or guidelines that we follow for Facebook to maintain that professionalism? And if we don't, do we need to have one?
Is that a question for me?
Yes, that's a question.
Yeah, currently the city does not. We have a new personnel policy manual that does have that in it. It hasn't been brought to council yet for approval. It's been through Andrew's office. He's looked at it, staff's going through it again, so it will come to council. And it does have social media policies in it.
Any other council? I will just share that I too have expressed my concerns. I understand, that the police department likes to use humor. I do think there's a line that can be crossed. I would align very much with what you've said. I've become very concerned. I was thankful, like the last day or so, it felt like it calmed down just a little bit. I do think this is definitely a discussion that we need to have as a council, what is appropriate and what is not, and how we desire to be presenting ourselves and all of our departments as the city of Kechi. So, Chief?
Yes, may I take podium?
Yes, sir.
Can I add
Oh, yeah.
real quick, you can go ahead. I have had other comments from people both in and out of the city on that very topic. They were usually just one-time comments, things like that, but I have heard that from other people as well.
So, I came prepared for this as well. Figured it was coming. You know, you got contacts you reach out to. So, I want to bring this up. Since adding humor to the post and so on, I'm just going to give you some quick statistics from off the cuff here. We're about 4,227 followers. We average about 106,000 engagements. And in the last week, we've had 1.083 million views, which is about 1/3 of the state of Kansas population. Here's the deal. Sharing the photographs of suspects, we will continue to do that because that is what raises awareness in this city. When we have a criminal who's running through backyards, who is stealing cars, who is burglarizing buildings, it is vital that people have those photographs and have that information. And I will continue to use humor to do so. Why? Because it gets shared. You've noticed the Facebook posts, you looked at the shares, you looked at the views, the ones that are mild, what are just mostly informative, don't have the same outreach that they do when you add humor to it. My job is to protect this city. I'm the gatekeeper of this city, and I take that job very seriously. Kechi, your police department has a spine now. We're not afraid of the criminal element. We're not afraid to put their faces on Facebook. You come to Kechi, you commit crime, we will make you famous. That will happen. Your face will be on Facebook. You come here and victimize the citizens that I'm in charge of keeping safe, I will make sure that however many views see your face, and that's what it is. I will not back down from that. Feelings are not facts. I'm sorry if your feelings are hurt by what you see on Facebook, but they're not facts. It is what it is. Currently, multiple, probably all police departments share suspects, faces, images, whatever it is. The particular video that the picture that she is talking about was after about a 4-hour foot chase with that suspect, and we finally did catch him with a canine. I reshared that same picture from October. That wasn't a current catch, that was from October. That's because we caught him out here on 254 coming into town with another stolen vehicle. You guys gotta understand how this works. They don't stop stealing vehicles. They trade them out for other vehicles. So if you want the communities of Kechi to be safe, if you want your car still in your driveway, in the morning when you wake up, let us do our jobs. Let us do our jobs, because that's what we're here to do. In the last week, I received 137 private messages to the Facebook page telling us that they enjoy what we're doing, they appreciate what we're doing, and are happy that the community is safe again. You can core request those, you can read through every one of them, I can print them off, it's not a problem, okay? It's there. Read through the positive comments. By far, they outweigh the negative. If you're sensitive about the Facebook page of Kansas Police Department, or Kechi Kansas Police Department, scroll past it. Scroll past it. You don't have to look at it, you don't have to read it, move on. My last comment, my last statement, when you two fix your moral compass, then you can try to fix mine. And you know exactly what I'm talking about, okay? You know exactly what I'm talking about. You and you. Don't look at me like that. I've seen the core requests. I've seen the people that you talk to, okay? I know what's going on. Fix your compasses, then you worry about mine. That's all I have.
Chief, one of the things I would just request is that just because somebody doesn't agree with you, they don't have to be labeled as haters.
And it's not that.
We can have difference of opinions, and that's one of the things that people are concerned. They can't even state And
I
it bothers
bought
them.
bagels this morning to meet with a person who disagreed with me. You can see the arrangement made on the Facebook page. He was to come to my office, we were gonna sit down, have coffee, and share bagels. He didn't show up. I was gonna have that conversation. I'm not mad at her. I'm not mad at her at all. I'm mad at you two, for sure. But she's just expressing an opinion. My job is the bottom line is to protect the city. Take a look at this vest, Mayor. You accused me of not being a working chief. All right? Remember that? I remember that conversation. These are magazines for my weapon. This is another magazine for my carbine. This is a knife. Okay? Handcuffs. Body camera. Everything I'm wearing is designed to either protect me, take freedom, or hurt somebody else. So when you're ready to take on that responsibility and step in here and see what the real world looks like, that's when you can use Scott's name to further your campaign, to further your agenda. What did you do for his family? Let me ask you that, Mayor. What did you do for Scott's family before you put him in that email to talk to me about what sacrifice looks like?
I was concerned about the content.
What did you do for Scott's family before you used him? Did you do anything? I'll tell you what I did. I hugged his widow when she came to pick up his remains down here at Wichita at the Forensic Center. I escorted his wife and his kids under the KHP helicopter back to his home in Hays, Kansas. I attended his funeral. I hugged his lieutenant, and I know his sergeant, and I know him. So when you use his family as an example and you have no clue about what you're talking about, now you're making my blood boil. I'm not going to stand for it, Mayor. I'm not going to stand for it. And I'll stand at that podium and I'll stand up for the fallen. I know what sacrifice looks like. I know what generational law enforcement looks like. My son's wearing the badge right now. So don't you dare, ever, use the name of our fallen again until you do something for them.
You have definitely made yourself very clear in this
Thank
meeting
you.
tonight, Chief Warren. I appreciate being threatened as a public official.
Was no threat. Not a single one.
Is there anyone else for public forum? Okay, we'll close public forum. Moving on to new business. 2026 patrol car purchase approval. City Administrator Jensen.
Mayor and Council, before you is the budgeted patrol car replacement for 2026. Very similar to what you saw last month. Last month was a replacement for a car that had been wrecked, that somebody ran into and totaled. So we replaced it. This is our budgeted replacement, and this is approval to purchase the car. The car has not been purchased yet. We need approval so they can go ahead and build it. It was built into the 2026 budget, and that's what's before you.
Council, any questions or discussion?
Is this a replacement for another vehicle? Is another vehicle being sold, traded in, anything of that nature?
This is a vehicle that was scheduled to be replaced or put back on the road. 2018 is being mothballed, so it's taking the place of it. 2023 is the one that we replaced with unit number 2.
And my question was based on the capital improvement plan that was approved that said in 2025, the 2018 was going to be mothballed, or was going to be traded in, and the 2020 was going to be replaced. My question is, what is happening to those vehicles?
Yeah, just as we talked about this last meeting.
No, I didn't get an answer last meeting. You told me we would talk about it at this meeting. The 2018 you said was mothballed.
2018 we had anticipated replacing it, put more money into it, ended up putting new motor in it, so we have kept it until this car is replaced. We're retaining that car, but as Chief explained, pulling it offline as kind of a spare car, so if another vehicle goes down, then the officers can use it. And we will eventually get rid of that vehicle. So
So
this was essentially to replace that vehicle.
So this is for the 2018 and not the 2020 as stated. So the 2020 we're just keeping.
2020 was never discussed on being replaced this year.
With all due respect, I have a document that was presented to council, that was approved by council, that says it was. I am asking for clarification.
Yeah,
That's all that I'm
was part of
doing.
one of our
I
budget
was-
workshops. Yeah, that document
This is
received.
not the CIP that was actually approved.
No, this purchase was approved in
No.
the 2026 budget.
Is this the approved CIP?
I cannot see it, I'd have to look.
So this was what was presented in the budget presentation in August 14th.
Okay.
Is that what was approved, or was there changes after that?
I cannot see the document here, but I will be happy to check to see if that's the most recent copy you have. If
I
you would-
asked
if you
last
would-
time, and you told me that there had not been any changes, so that's why
I can.
it wasn't updated.
Teresa, I can bring it back to you at the next meeting.
So so this will make then the sixth vehicle that we currently have. Because we're not trading in a vehicle, we're just adding to our fleet.
18 will not be traded in. 18 will be sold on Purple Wave once we have established a solid foundation with our fleet.
Okay.
Right now, we don't have that, so 18 is being mothballed.
So how,
Once we establish a solid foundation, 18 will be sold on Purple Wave. 20 will remain in service, even though it's got 90-some thousand miles on it. And then at the time that we replace the next vehicle, 20 will then do the same thing that 18 is doing.
so after, that's where I'm trying to clarify. So after this vehicle comes on and is usable, then we do intend to sell the 2018.
Yes, as long as the other
So
vehicles
it's just that the plan that we had presented was basically one vehicle off. So there wasn't a vehicle traded in 2025, and the plan wasn't shown as being updated, so I'm just trying to make sure that I'm aware, because I've had people ask me how many vehicles we have, what's our intention, and so that's where my questions come from.
So you're saying the 2018 comes off once the new one comes on?
Correct.
But it doesn't come off until we have a patrol car ready to roll?
Yeah, just like Chief said.
And then
yes.
Purple Wave, generally we get,
Purple Wave is a government option site, so most all
Can-
police departments, or not just police departments, but municipalities put their vehicles on there and they kind of.
and I'm trying to remember what we usually get for.
Yeah, while that car has a new engine in it, it's still not reliable, per se.
Yeah,
The new engine will increase the value of that car on Purple Wave. I would expect to be around the $10,000 mark on that car.
okay, that's.
Trade-in
that's
value on the car was probably
looking more.
4,500.
Chief, what was the vehicle that was hit?
2023 Charger.
2023?
Yes, sir.
Vehicle replacement plans are great until you have like a vehicle in an accident that gets totaled and it throws the whole thing off.
Council, is there any further discussion or questions?
So I have this down for discussions later, because I did have a couple residents ask me some questions specifically about police cars. It doesn't really as much have to do with the acquisition of the new car, so I didn't know if you want me to ask them now while we're talking about police cars, or wait until later when we're doing open discussion.
Well, I'll try to answer whatever I can.
So, one of the questions that I was asked, other than, well, so how many cars, and I do have an answer to that. How many vehicles, are regularly taken home from the police department? How many? Is it just yours? Okay. I told him I wasn't sure. I knew that you took yours. I did not believe there was any others, because, and that was what the one was. Do we have any idea? I know you said the 2020 has 90,000 miles on it. Do we have an estimate on how much we average put on vehicles per year?
Usually it's around 12,000
Okay.
miles per vehicle.
I'm sorry, Chief, could you repeat that? I heard
12,000 per vehicle typically.
per year, per vehicle.
Yep.
And then, I know that when you bought your original car, when you first came on, that was an unmarked car, and now we have the truck. Are those, so do we have two unmarked vehicles, or has the other one that you previously used, is that now a marked vehicle? Does it have the logo on the side?
23 is the one that totaled. It
And
was
that
the one
was-
I previously used.
Okay, so
So it was not
it
marked.
was not marked. Okay, so now we're back to one that would, okay.
Yes.
All right, those were the questions that I've been asked. Thank you.
If there's no further questions or discussion, I would entertain a motion.
I move we approve the purchase of the 2026 patrol vehicle from SERB in the amount not to exceed $58,000 as allocated for in the approved 2026 budget.
Motion by Council President Hedstrom, second by Councilmember Baldridge. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Okay, moving on to council reports and discussion. Are there any council reports? Any points of discussion?
I guess I have one. I know that at the December meeting, we had the holiday resolution. And then on the holidays, I noticed that the city hall was closed an extra half day, both before Christmas and before New Year. So is that should that be part of the holiday resolution if we plan on closing, or was staff given holiday pay for that, or was it just a 4-hour day?
Yeah, historically, the city has always closed early.
I think historic is,
Historically, the city has
how,
always closed.
when you say historic, how many years do you mean? Because historically, I didn't until probably the last 3 years. I don't think that was, but what I'm asking is, if that's going to be holiday pay, then is that something that needs to go through council, if that is something that is going to be a standard practice moving forward?
What do you mean by holiday pay?
So when City Hall was closed on the day before Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve,
So you're asking if employees get paid time and a half?
were the employees that did not work, did they receive holiday pay, or were they paid for that additional 4 hours?
I don't have an answer for you right now, but I can find out. I don't,
Yeah, they were paid for the 4 hours.
they were paid for the 4 hours.
And was it, so if they were paid for the 4 hours they had off, where it would have been the offices, and I'm not sure if the public works was included in that, or police officers rewarded with that same?
Police officers,
So,
they have to work 24 hours.
okay, so that's kind of what I'm getting at, is we had 2 departments who received holiday pay, additional holiday pay than what was in the holiday resolution, and we had 1 department that was not. So if that is going to be the standard practice moving forward, I'm just asking, first off, for clarification, that, because I honestly was coming up to City Hall for something New Year's Eve, not realizing that, because I didn't see it on the website, that we were closing early. So it just is something that, if it is a benefit that we're going to give to the staff, does it need to be formalized? That's just my question. Discussion.
Okay, I have a couple of things. I had a resident inquire, why are we charged stormwater fees? Anyone from staff want to give an answer for that?
Well, stormwater fees as they apply to runoff from impervious surfaces.
It's what's in their utility bills, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, what's in the utility bill? Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
by
that's
ordinance.
stormwater utility.
Okay,
Right.
it's by ordinance,
so,
depending on how many square feet of impervious surface you have,
and is that the city that's charging it, or is that a state of Kansas requirement?
city.
Okay, so the secondary question to that was, if their property is more rural, but inside the city limits of Kechi, and they don't believe that their property impacts stormwater issues, why do they have to pay stormwater fees?
Well, stormwater would be defined as anything that runs off into the ditches. So any property drains to the ditches, and those ditches have to be maintained by the city. The city has to, pay for that. We incur maintenance costs for those, so that's what those stormwater fees cover.
Thank you for that. My next point of discussion, may go between discussion and request. I'm not really sure how it's gonna fall out. So I'll just bring it forward. This is a playground discussion. First off, I want to say that I am thankful for every person on the park board and the investment of their time to move the playground equipment project forward. I support replacing our playground equipment. My inquiry and discussion is about the procedure. I asked a question about the playground equipment plan at the January 8th, 2026 City Council meeting. The park board is an advisory board, and City Administrator Gensby stated that the board would bring forward information to the council when they made a decision. An advisory board is not a decision-making board. From my perspective and looking at city procedures, as an advisory board, the park board would have brought 3 bids and plans forward as an agenda item for the city council with their recommendation with those. And after hearing the options available and costs, and possibly presentations to the council, just like we did with the new electronic city sign placement considerations, the city council would then decide which option would be approved. If there was a desire for an exception to procedure, that would have been presented to the city council to make a determination, yes or no. There are already dates scheduled for the new playground build to occur in approximately 5 months, but the playground equipment has not been on an agenda, nor has the city council given approval for the project to move forward. Of the park budget for 2026, what are the costs for maintenance and repairs that are needed at Kechi Park? That is also a factor of available funds. In addition, it's been stated that fundraising must be done, and there is the hope of grant awards. I am aware of all of the details. Yet, my greatest concern is procedure, and then costs. There are finite public dollars available. In a time of rising costs and the heavy burden of property taxes, spoken out by the residents who live here in Kechi, the governing body should carefully weigh what is best for Kechi as this significant investment is made. I desire the playground equipment project to be successful and for accountability and transparency to occur for the whole Kechi community. I'd like to have a discussion about the procedure, whether it's today or we schedule it for the next meeting, February 12th, 2026. It's 3 weeks until the next council meeting, and the clock is ticking on this project. How would you like to move forward? Would you like to have discussion now, or would you like it to be put onto the agenda for the next meeting?
Mayor, I think that's your call.
I would like to have a discussion about it. Council, would you like to have a discussion?
I'm curious, because I believe that was there not 3 proposals, 3 different people brought forward proposals initially when this came up, and I'm asking because I don't have access to the park board records. So there were 3 proposals.
Yes.
So the park board heard 3 proposals,
Yes.
but we have heard none. We've had a public meeting that said this is what's happening. And this is when, I mean, you told us that there's an expected build date, but we haven't seen anything. Nothing's come before the council. So.
Yeah, you're correct, and I think we're kind of putting the cart before the horse, because as you know, the park board is still, well, in fact, today, and I haven't even had a chance to look through the quote that came back, but they got the final pricing in for the playground equipment.
From one company.
From Play by Design, who they
One
have been
company.
working with, who
But
did the.
that was never brought before the council to make a decision. There was 3 original bids from 3 different companies that never, the park board itself made a decision, but they're not a decision-making board. They are an advisory board, and so all of those bids should have come. We're talking a lot of money here. So that should have come to the city council, and the city council would have made the decision how they were proceeding with the project.
I don't know if I agree with you on that. We tasked the park board to bring their recommendation to the city council. They did that through a lengthy interview process with different vendors. I think your catch, Mayor, is the sole source vendor.
It's not a sole source vendor.
Well, I know that's.
I have a
your-
list of 12 right here, other companies that do exactly the same thing that Play by Design does.
Yeah, I understand that's your opinion. You and I have exchanged emails on
Yes,
that.
we have.
Our purchase policy, yes, we have a purchase policy. And in certain situations, it requires either an RFP or 3 bids to move forward. And then we have provisions for a sole source vendor too, which, Play by Design, is a sole source vendor. Whether you agree or not, we can have that discussion later. But the fact is, we can go back quite some time when the city council was going to make those decisions, and you were a citizen, and you were calling for a park board to be put together
Correct.
to make those decisions.
No, to do the job of the park board.
Okay, so,
That's two different things.
so we reached out to volunteers, we
Absolutely.
enacted the park board that hadn't been together in many, many years, and that was their first task, is to make a recommendation to the city council for this playground equipment. But now what I hear you saying is you don't agree with the decision that they made,
It's not a decision-making board,
and,
sir.
and they have, but the park board has to make a decision
They've
in
had
order to
3
make,
bids to bring forward to the council.
in order to make a recommendation for the city council.
So have they made a
What-
recommendation to the city council?
No, they have
Okay,
not.
so a decision has been made to move forward, but that decision did not come from this body.
There's been no money or contract
Yeah, there's nothing.
No
there's-
decision has been made.
No decision,
So
that's,
when
that's
it-
my confusion, is
when
no
it comes
decision
to-
has been made, they are going to make a recommendation to the
So-
city council based off the information that they gather. No contracts have been signed, no, no
Let me ask
anything.
this to clarify, has anything binding been agreed to by the city?
No,
Okay, so it's still in a recommendation phase?
yeah,
So when it comes to us, will that have 3 sources of recommendation, or are they only bringing us 1 source of recommendation?
they will be bringing Play by Design.
Why? Why
because
is there
that's-
only, when I look at sole source, it says certain ones maybe, and it really is very vague, I will say our purchasing policy, sole source purchases may be made under the parameters established by this policy, but without competitive bids or quotes, if determined by the city administrator that there is only one vendor that can reasonably provide the good service. How did you reasonably decide that that was the only vendor that could come do that service, when the park board themselves found several people to reach out to, and then they among themselves decided which one would come forward to us?
Yeah, they,
How did you decide
I
that?
think the important part is they interviewed those companies. They came in and did interviews with them and decided that the other companies did not provide the service that they wanted. This is a more specialized service specific to Kechi with the community involvement, where they came out, they incorporated the community, they went to the local schools to develop this plan that's going to be recommended to the city council.
But that process there happened after they decided that this was gonna be the only one that they brought forward, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you're telling me we got the cart before the horse, but I feel like there's a disconnect in the fact that, like I said, this is an advisory board, and if they went and searched out 3 bids, why wasn't the city council involved in vetting those 3 bids? Because
I don't
If-
think they needed to be.
okay, but was
Our park
all,
board has done an incredible job
Okay.
through this entire process.
so when they reached out to the companies, were all companies and all people that shared that information and were working with them, were they all given the exact same information to take to the respective companies to vet them out?
I don't have an answer for you for that.
They
Okay,
did not.
so
They did not all have the
that's, I
same, I
think,
attended
where-
all those meetings.
I'll have to ask the park.
okay,
board.
and again, like I said, we don't have access to the minutes of the meetings. Those aren't provided on the website, so it's hard for us to tell. But if the park board put it out to bid and they requested proposals, so that means that there was a request for proposals. So they didn't
No,
see,
they never had an RFP. They did it individually.
they didn't have, okay,
They did not have
They-
anything.
what they had it go out for proposals, but there is, we don't know if we're, again, comparing apples to apples, or we had apples and oranges, because
Correct.
we're not getting the information.
Yeah, like, I guess maybe one of the first things I would suggest is you come to the park board and ask them those questions, because they're the ones making those decisions.
And then Matt, I would request that once the park board brings us the recommendation, that the sole source justification is included in that.
It will be, yes. Yeah.
And then I will also supply 12 other companies that do the same thing that Playwright Design does.
Okay.
Yeah.
And moving forward with that, I think that our language in our purchasing policy needs to be cleaned up as to what actually, because it does say that under the parameters established by this policy, but it doesn't really provide true parameters. And so when it says that it's determined by the city administrator, and we had 3 companies that they went out to bid, but we didn't, so it's hard for me to say that's sole source if there were at least 3 companies that they spoke to.
Who developed that policy?
The city, well, it was adopted on February 10th, 2022.
When you were finance director?
No, I was not.
Okay, or city clerk?
I was the city clerk then. But thank you for trying.
My other concern is just the total cost of it. It would definitely fall under where we would have 3 bids. And secondarily, just one example, when the Huffman sewer line needed to be scoped to find out what was going on for it, the sitting council at that time, it was quite the process of proving sole source provider because there was only one company in the entire U.S. that offered that service. And so to just say that a playground designer is sole source, I have a really hard time with that because there are so many playground designers throughout the United States. So that is just really concerning. And I got shut down at Park Board when I said, I don't believe that this falls under sole source. There are many other companies that do this. At that time, I was told that it was because you had told them that it was sole source provider and that they were going to follow what you had told them. And if I had an issue, I needed to bring it up with you. So tonight, I am bringing it up in a public meeting because it's less than 5 months to a scheduled build date, whether they've signed something or not. And we haven't considered anything else. The council has made no decisions on how to move forward. So it's just really disappointing, the whole process. I think that you could say that the cart got put before the horse in the way that the park board ended up being led to develop the project. So it's just really disappointing. I really want a great outcome for this. The other 2 people that got bids, it was completely different parameters on what they went out to find because they stayed within a certain price range. And it's just a lot different. I would hope that if there was an exception to what wanted to be done, that would have been, the park board would have been advised to come to the council saying that they wanted to go well over what the original plan was for how much money to spend on playground equipment and ask for the council's decision whether they would support fundraising, trying to acquire grants, instead of it just being pushed through the way it was. So it's just my personal perspective.
I think our park board has done a wonderful job.
They have done, yes.
I think
They have done
the
great with what they
finished
have.
product that they will bring to the city council for consideration will be well vetted, include tons of community input, and be a very good proposal.
Thank you. Council, any other reports or discussion? Okay, I'm going to move on to governing body requests. Does anyone have any requests to bring forth tonight?
I would request a copy of the current personnel policy, including the salary and pay schedule with the grades and levels and job descriptions that have previously been adopted by council, so that when I guess the one that's in the works that I was not aware of, that when we have that we can actually have a comparative piece of documentation.
I brought this up last time about the Wichita water rates going up. Does the city have an estimated date for an update to water rates with Wichita's increase that began January 1st, 2026?
Chris says we need to have them done by next month, so.
The next utility bill that goes out in February.
Okay. When those are brought forward, I am requesting the city to please have a visual slide that shows current rates, what the new rate increase would be, as well as including the additional 3% escalation rate that will occur on August 1st, 2026, so that our residents can be aware of what is going to be happening throughout this year. An additional request, for transparency, this has been a discussion in the past that didn't really go anywhere, is the consideration of printing utility rates on our city bills. A number of residents have asked for more transparency so they can actually see what they're being charged. And so if that's a council discussion, you guys had this discussion several years ago. There were residents that were coming forward saying they didn't know what they were being charged. At that time, they added some rates onto a city website for a time. And I don't know if that is being kept up currently, those rates.
Specifically, where they, is not on there.
I don't think there's room on that bill to put the four.
That was the reason before why they weren't printing it on there.
It took me 2 weeks to get the PO box taken off of it.
There's no rates on the bill.
You know, so
There's no rates.
the gas rate changes monthly.
Mhm.
So the per unit rate.
Per
now-
unit rate,
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
that's what I was asking.
Yeah.
Yes.
It took me 2 weeks to get the PO box taken off because they didn't know how to do it.
Oh, golly.
So
Okay.
I'm sure you understand.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, because I know where it's at.
Yeah. And maybe the consideration is if we can't put it on the bill for some reason, is that we create a spot on the city website where the rates are kept, or published every month, what the rates are, because the gas rate does change every month.
That, and once we get the new sign, I'm sure it can be put on the new sign.
Okay, great, thank you for that. So my request would just be when we do have the new rates, that we do a visual slide so that people can see what the current rate was for water, what it's gonna be, and then what it will be August 1st with the
Yeah,
3%
I'll have to-
escalation rate.
Thomas and I have to sit down and
Great,
that's in his ball.
thank you so much, I appreciate that. Okay, go ahead and do the mayoral report for this meeting. January 10th, 2026, I attended the Sedgwick County Association of Cities meeting. Council President Hedstrom and City Administrator Jensby also were in attendance. There was really good attendance across Sedgwick County at that meeting. Julie Stimson, Sedgwick County Emergency Management, gave an insightful presentation regarding disaster recovery for a community after a major event occurs. The Andover tornado event was the example utilized. She stated that after a disaster, we don't go back to normal, but to a new normal, so our community is better prepared going forward. SCAC was hosted by Bel Air and Walton's meat processing supplier. They are the everything but the meat company. Their new building facility is just fantastic. The family put a lot of thought into every detail, from equipment testing, training, video production, streamlining inventory processes for order fulfillment, and including future expansion. The public can access their retail store on 53rd, just down the road a little bit, or visit their website. One side note on that, with that company, Walton, Sedgwick County Elections Office will be relocating to the former Walton site after the building was purchased by Sedgwick County. A special thank you to city staff who took care of the special meeting notices for 2 electronic city sign demonstrations, as well as attending the meetings and taking minutes, and to city council members for making time to attend as this governing body works towards replacement of our current city sign that is unable to have information changed on it. I so appreciate everyone's efforts involved in that. Today, January 22nd, I attended the League of Kansas Municipalities New Year, New Roles, What Every City Official Should Know webinar this morning. Key takeaways included knowing your role, respect boundaries, lead collaboratively, ask a lot of questions, and ask more questions, which everyone knows I love to ask questions. Discussion included elected officials and city staff roles and how to interact in a more effective way. The importance of continuing education for elected officials was very much highlighted. Utilizing time management tips when serving as an elected official, questions to ask as you build relationships, social media considerations, and more. I have much to learn and plan to invest in educational opportunities as they are made available through LKM and other organizations in my service to the people of Kechi. There's nothing else. We'll move on to staff reports. Thomas Bevan, Public Works, please. Welcome.
council. I think you have them before you, right? So I kinda did, since we wasn't here early November, December, I kinda did both of those together, and then I like to give a year-end review. Good thing is that it looks like we hired a couple of guys that are, at least can read a book and pass the test. So four of us attended backflow and cross connection, all four passed. That way the city stays in compliance with the city of Wichita. We have to have our backflow and our cross connection. It's also a state requirement, just so, nobody's sending anything back through the lines that their neighbor gets to drink. Nobody wants that, for sure. Graded dirt roads in November, December. Moisture's been kinda hard to get by, so if we get it, we try to get out there and get some of those holes dug out of there, or get some of them windrows knocked down. We spent quite a bit of time cleaning ditches. We spent about 3 or 4 days updating the city's dent plan. That plan is due every 5 years to the KCC, also sent to PHMSA. What that does is it takes our gas lines in total, breaks them down and does a threat assessment from terrorism to earthquakes to, just natural disasters to, how long our lines have been in, whether they're steel, whether they're poly, whether they've been coated, contractor hits. Unfortunately, we're starting to see an uptick in contractor hits. Before our buried yard lines were the biggest threat. So we did see a little rotation in the numbering on that. I think we had three hits this year, so it takes the longevity since it's been in since 1957, of all of it in total, and it just breaks it down in the algorithm. I don't know exactly how it does. Somebody smarter than me invented it, so I just put the numbers in. We made 9,500 gallons of brine. I'm trying to get ahead of these winter events. I was hoping we wouldn't have any this year, but didn't knock on wood hard enough, I guess. So guys will be ready. They'll be putting out brine tomorrow afternoon, pre-treat, since I guess it's gonna be off. I don't know whether it's 3 inches or 13 inches or 23 inches. I don't know. I should have been a meteorologist, so I could have been wrong 90% of the time, I guess. So I had a job. But we'll be pre-treating. We'll probably come in Saturday night or Sunday early in the morning to start pushing. I'm not sure we wanna be out there with everybody else driving around on Saturday. We'll try to stay out of their way and get in here at night while everybody's sleeping, if we see a higher amount of accumulation, so it's gonna depend. I'll be paying attention to whatever radar I think is gonna be correct that next hour. So I also did a breakdown for year. We almost had 1,800 locates. To put that in perspective, that's more than we had the last 2 years combined. It's only a few hundred less than we had the last 3 years. Keep in the back of your mind that those locates are not ours. So those are the surrounding towns doing work around us. That's Wichita, that's Park City, anything that butts up adjacent to our utilities that could affect our utilities. So when we have these other divisions coming in, like maybe Cano's or whatever, we're going to see an explosion of locates. So each locate takes about an hour. Some of them take longer. Currently, like Seal Labs out there, when we locate that, that's almost 3 square miles. Or by the time you locate the gas, come back, relocate the water, come back, rehook up, and we locate the sewer. So those take an extremely long time. We ran out 5,900 tons of KGE rock up to Sunnydale to put on the roads, another 300 tons of sand. The hours are broke down on here. If you figure them all up, there's about 7,500 hours that are accounted for on here. With the summertime help, we only had about 9,000 hours. So that leaves 1,500 hours to do everything else in the city between the guys that were here. And we all know that Earl retired, so his hours are out the window. So there's no way that I'm going to be able to do the same stuff. So obviously we will hire eventually, I think around April 1st. Is when I'll try to start hopefully have somebody hired to get ready for the summertime. Those 1,500 hours, include picking up dead animals, going back out to read water and gas meters that somebody might have thought the read was off. Replacing water and gas meters. We just spent 3 days cleaning up the fair building, putting up shelves, shop vacuuming the floor, cleaning the basement here, so that's what those 1,500 extra hours are for. Gas trains and and certificates and state audits, about 600 hours. So, you guys got any questions or?
I have a question for you, because we're gonna get these questions. So, with the storm of the year coming, and everybody's predicting different things, can you just share kind of what your snow removal priority is? Because people get confused as to what are county, what city. We share roads with Park City, we share roads with other municipalities. Kind of walk through what your snow removal plan is, so that when we get those texts from our neighbors and say, when's my street gonna get plowed?
So, me and Matt was actually talking about this earlier today. Since I've become Public Works Director, we've taken on 8 more miles of road to clear, to grade, to clean ditches. That's 18 miles, that's actually 16 road miles, so you gotta count both directions.
Right.
So, usually we try to take care of the main roads first. When I first started here, we didn't even clear the center of Kechi. The county came through and they would clear all of Oliver down to 53rd. They would clear all of Kechi Road all the way out to Woodlawn. They would clear Woodlawn over to Bel-Air. So now we do that. Then this year, the county asked us to take all the way to 77th on Oliver, and then also 93rd to 101st on hydraulic. In my meeting with the mayor, when she kind of drove with me, I also, I'm looking into the fact that I-135 to Oliver is almost all Kechi now, out to Eldersley's Farm, so I don't think that it'll be very long before they drop that 3 miles on us. Yesterday, I purchased another plow for our skid steer to kind of help. Most of our plows are 30 years old, so we've been beating them for as long as we can, fixing things for as long as we can. We purchased one for our skid steer yesterday, an 8-foot blade, so hopefully that'll help. A few more people on, but we always do the main roads first. So we'll head out towards Hillside, we'll come back into town, we'll head south towards 53rd and Oliver, and then out towards Woodlawn down 53rd, and we just kind of make a circle. Hopefully the snow will stop, and then we'll start hitting the neighborhoods, and then the cul-de-sacs. Prairie Creek Drive gets hit because it's an emergency snow route, so we hit that one usually first before we start doing the side roads. We've also had to talk about, we're one of the few cities left that still does the residential neighborhoods. In the past, I don't mind hitting them. It'd be nice if we could get the cars off the roads. It's kind of one of those things when you got new operators and they see those cars out there, and then you look up there and there's not one car parked in the driveway. It's like, okay, well, then I get a call, hey, you buried my car in. Well, I'm sorry, but we didn't change the snow pile to turn it the other direction and put more snow in your neighbor's yard. And if past this storm, if we continue to do that for residential neighborhoods or not. I mean, that's not really my decision, that'll be your guys' decision. Because we also talked about the making brine. If we purchase it, cause we make it really slow. Took Jason 4 days to make 9,500 gallons. They have mixers and stuff, but we mix it outside in the weather, in the cold. We don't have a fancy shop for that to be made in. But some of these places are using almost 2 mils worth of brine, $1 million. So you're talking $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 in brine. The way we currently make it, we can do it for about 20 to 40 cents. If you purchase it, it's about $1.50. And we also do the residential roads at that. So there's a lot of things to figure out going into the future, especially with the city growing and employees and just what we do. And just, how many phone calls Matt wants to take, or I want to take, or, the biggest thing is we just cleaned our driveway and now you just put more snow in it. Sorry for that, if you just give me a second, but your side roads are going to be the last thing cleaned, unfortunately.
So neighbors can help you by keeping their vehicles off the streets.
Yes, that would be appreciated.
And trash cans.
And trash cans.
Off the streets, and then when they shovel their driveways, not to shovel them into the streets. Probably would help.
That would help, yeah, a little bit. I mean, it usually if the street's already clean and they push it back out there, most of it's gonna melt, usually pretty quick, cause it's not a whole lot, but.
Patience and understanding.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to some other cities where when you have 10, 12 inches of snow, you're not getting out of your driveway. You're not getting out to that doctor's visits, and at least if we only leave a row, maybe a foot or two wide, I understand, but you can at least get out from this city to where you need to go. And county, I think the reason why county, another to that point, when I talked to the county, they usually have 10 operators for the trucks up here. The last few years, they've only been able to hire 4. So that kind of puts us at a disadvantage and makes it where these small towns are having to pick up the slack, to be honest with you. So, yep.
Thank you, Thomas. I
Oh.
really appreciate you.
I did have another note. I didn't read this in October. We went out to 93rd Street up north, and we fixed a culvert and a drain. I guess the trash trucks were getting stuck. I guess over the last few years, the Valley Center buses were getting stuck. I didn't know. The buses since have gone to where if there's not a turnaround, I guess the buses won't go down the road anymore. But this was a letter from a resident, and it was addressed to the city of Kechi, but it was given to me. It said, "We want to personally thank you for the job on East 93rd Street North, especially the road running in front of our house, as well as the neighbors across the street. We knew the road was bad, but didn't realize how bad it was. From fixing the holes, adding new rock, leveling the road, replacing and repairing our ditch that always retain water because of trash trucks getting stuck and making everything worse out here after rain. Plus the fact that you came back and added grass where the yard was under construction. It says your guys doing this work has been outstanding and deserve a huge thank you. It says you have a great group of guys working for the city of Kechi. It says we are very pleased that Kechi took us over. So this is the Sunnydale area. So I know that we have some times where like, hey, we were forced. So we do have other people out there that do appreciate. It says we sincerely appreciate all you do, and a big thank you from the homeowners. So I won't call them out because I don't know whether they want their name or not. But so we do have a good group of guys, and you know, as little as they are, they do get a lot done for. So.
Thank you so much, Thomas. I appreciate how hard you work to stretch public dollars in serving Kechi and how hard your crew works. Is there anything looking forward into 2026 that you want the council to be aware of regarding Public Works Department?
Just orders. I had a conversation with Matt the other day, and I told him I feel like a dog that's been caged. I feel like I'm on a leash. I'm ready to go and put things in and get things going, and know if we're going to run lines and utilities and where they need to go, and just get on the ball, and that way I can plan for them instead of them. There was this old saying when I first got here: our job is to put out fires. Well, I don't always like waiting for the fires to start burning. I like to get ahead of them if I can. So I'm definitely a planner versus a spur of the moment type of person. So, whatever that may be, we're ready. If it's time to get in, and the more connections we have, the cheaper it gets for people in the city. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you so much. Before we move on, I have a question. Do we as a city, have an emergency road map? That's the priority that we plow if it snows?
No, the emergency snow routes, which are marked, which are the main roads.
Okay, do we have a map that shows the emergency routes?
We do.
Okay, I guess that would be another potential request, because that's what comes up, I think, people want to see what roads are gonna get plowed. So I don't know if that's something for the future we want to consider, having an emergency route map that the city can just post and say, just a reminder, these are the priority roads when we have a snow event.
Yeah,
But
we can
if we
see what we
don't,
can find.
okay, thank you. Chief Moore, Kechi Police Department, welcome.
Alright, Unit 2's been delivered, it's done well, so, continue to run it. We had a spotlight problem, but that's a Mopar issue, so we were able to take it over to serve and get that fixed, they replaced it. So, it's out, the guys are appreciating it. In fact, the first, 100 miles we had it out, we had pursuit. And, it performed just as it needed to, and, took a firearm, distribution amounts of, meth and, other, narcotics off the street, so it served its duty right out the gate. So far, just kind of some highlights of the year. Touched on social media a little bit. Right now, we have 20 applications in hand for open positions. We're filtering through those right now. It's a huge jump after getting only 1 or 2 applications in the past at a time. It's the most Kechi PD has had in hand and this is after we took down the $10,000 hiring bonus. 10 grand wasn't enough to entice people to come in and apply, however, an active social media has been. We've got a way to connect with younger viewers, and that says something when it comes to engagement. In fact, today I just scheduled another ride-along with another guy that's gonna come in, I believe it's next Friday, and he'll be in the passenger seat with us, and seeing what we do and how it goes, so. Speaking on social media platform, it's landed us a spot with 2 schools to help promote First Responder Week, one of which will be a homeschool coming to Kechi Police Department to take a tour. We're gonna discuss, obviously canine operations. Everybody loves Rocky, so he'll be here to do some of that, and just kind of what we do in and out of the Kechi Police Department. Another one, we'll be attending a grade school to teach those kids about life as a police department. They have also requested Rocky come hang out, so he's gonna be a busy dude. Chief and Deputy Chief will be attending the Law Enforcement Legislative School, social in Topeka on the 27th. They'll start early, be filled with meetings and different things, meeting with legislatures, talking to our lobbyists, making sure the future of Kansas law enforcement is pure and ethical, so we'll be working on that. MPO Carpenter and Deputy Chief Salisbury have completed another evidence audit. So we're getting that taken care of. We're trying to get space in there right now. As you guys know, one of the highlights of this year is we shut down the CBD shop right on the heels of shutting down the antique shop, both of which were dealing drugs in your community. We're not gonna have it. Like I said, your police department has a spine now, and we will go after those who are violating the law. Without remorse, without an apology. That's who you have in this community now, and we're doing it. So, we gotta get that evidence out of there. It's about 36 totes. We dropped off right around 20 to 30 pounds of marijuana to the Forensic Science Center. We owe them an apology card and probably some cookies, because they have to test each strain, they have to test each container, weigh each container, put the raw product back in the container. It is a very tedious process, so I'm trying to stay in those folks' good graces. Call volume, no surprise there, that's doubled from 2025. In 25, we had 1,761 calls for service. We are now at 3,465 calls for service, closing it out. That's an increase of 1,704 calls. Again, I want to reiterate, so there is no confusion, there's no false information out there. Calls for service is everything your police officers do. That is all inclusive, so from proactive enforcement to responding to 911 calls, that's all included. Officer Bolin, I'm gonna give him a shout out. He's our standout business and residential guy. He performed 733 checks this year on his own. That's crime prevention. That's going to businesses. That's going to the houses that are on vacation. That's taking note of everything that's happening in the community. Staying on par for that. We had a grand total of 1,003 business checks and residential checks. Bolin is our daytime weekend guy, so he's out there doing that thing. We're poised for an even busier 2026, guys. It's just coming. Gilly's up here on the corner. We arrested one of their security officers. He had over a half pound of marijuana in his car, and he was dealing. So, again, it's proxy. It's here. If it's not set up shop inside the community, it's traveling through the community. And unapologetically, we will enforce that. We will not hold back. The other shout I want to give, obviously with the increase of calls and everything, I like to refer to her as the police office manager because she does more than just court clerk stuff. But her tasks have doubled as well. The other night we didn't get out here in court until 10:30. I think it was 10 when everybody finally left. I think we saw, I'm on the ballpark, but I think it was around 100 cases. 6 of them were set for trial, only 2 of them went to trial, but we're getting busy. We're having to fill up the community room and have court in here and break it up alphabetically. But she's taking those phone calls, she's taking payments over the phone, so those cases don't go to court, the tickets and stuff. She's working hard, not to mention the shenanigans of the officers in there every day. She's like our mom, she puts up with us. She's a sweetheart, so you got her email there. I appreciate it if you guys wouldn't mind giving her a shout out. She does a lot for us. So, guys, are there any questions?
I was just curious, so on the
and I think you may have actually answered this, so the checks that Officer Boland did, those are included with the 3,400?
If he checked out on the radio, yes. That's a culmination of, the patrons that receive our vacation watches, and then the checks that he had checked out on the radio. So likely it's probably more than that, but
So this also would include anytime you have traffic citations or other
all
court
inclusive,
cases?
everything,
So do you
all
ever-
productivity of officers.
So do we have an exact breakdown on just like what is traffic, how many traffic citations we had this year versus last year, or, you know?
So I can get that from the court clerk, or, through that. As far as breaking down the calls themselves, the mayor and I had this discussion. Sometimes those calls will get, misflagged by dispatch. Dispatch will put out a DD call in progress. And then we look at the call notes, and it's a 12-year-old child refusing to go to school. That's not a DD call in progress. However, that's how it's classified. So if I was to release that information, it wouldn't be 100% accurate.
Okay, I was just curious, because I know that, like I said, when you say that's everything, that they're not, that some calls might be I stopped somebody for a traffic and violation, or versus, like I said, a domestic violence call versus.
I've got some raw data I can share, but again, I'm concerned with potential accuracy of that. I don't want people to take a look at that and be like, man, we got, so many fights breaking out everywhere, and in reality, it's
No, we're just,
whatever.
how many of them lead to court cases versus how many of them are just, like I said, we responded, the 12-year-old ran away, but the 12-year-old's fine.
Yeah, court's busy. I can get those numbers for you next time if you want. I'll get with Casey and see how many court cases we actually had to go through. I have no way to measure that number as far as off the top of my head.
Those were just some of the things, like I said, when people ask, is when they see the 3465, and saying, what is going on? What, is it just the traffic stops versus,
So,
are we going to hell in a handbasket?
my job is to make sure it stays behind the curtain. We don't want y'all worried about exactly what is going on when we're working investigations and trying to take down the folks. I want y'all sleeping peaceably at night. Let our guys worry about it. Let our guys go out there and handle it. When it is pertinent, when it is important, it does hit Facebook. When I need to let people know it's on there. So.
Chief, how many open positions do you have?
With the approval of the new position this year, I have 2. Again, I'm narrowing down the candidacy for the one from last year that was open, rolling into the new year, and then this year we're approved for another one. I want to fill the one from last year, make sure we're up and going, and then assess kind of where we're at in the quarter, and kind of what the call volume is doing with the surrounding area and what's going on. I know we've got a lot of growth slated. Like Thomas said, I don't want to be fighting a forest fire, I want to be ahead of it, which is going to be permanent on that. So.
It's great to hear we have that many applicants. It wasn't very long ago that we couldn't get anybody even interested.
Yeah, when we had $10,000 hiring bonus, and nobody even batted an eye. Again, it's engagement.
Even before that, when we put that into place, it was,
Yeah.
you couldn't get anybody.
Well, we got people requesting ride-alongs now. They want to come out and see it. It sparks interest in people who are interested in law enforcement. I've been doing it for 25 years professionally, and then through high school and cadet programs, and working my way into that. I've got another 4 years on that. I love being in that passenger seat, and that's what sparks it. That's what keeps it going. It's what keeps it alive. Let cops be cops. We'll take care of it.
I have a couple questions. The police staff directory on the city website is like way outdated. Is there plans to get that updated with current officers?
Yes, so, Officer Carpenter is a, semi-pro amateur photographer. He's brought his own equipment in. We have an American flag in the back office. He's trying to work with lighting, get some things done, bring some headshots up. We want to put our headshots in the lobby, as well as update the website. I don't have anything to do with the website,
Yeah.
but, we do want to get that information on there, emails and contact information.
So will you plan to, like in the past, when you've had new officers, like you've done an introduction, like, will you do that again on your social media page where you do like an introduction of a new officer, kind of background? I remember you did that before.
Yeah, for sure. And what we're trying to do in this new year is we did a recognition of each officer, just kind of a brief on who they are and what they're about. And we're going to roll through the roster again with that. Probably a once a week thing. We'll put another face up and just put that stuff out there. So.
appreciate that.
Yeah, no
Thank
problem.
you. Anything else? Thank you, Chief. Okay, now we're gonna welcome Justin Belton, planning, zoning, stormwater, code enforcement, and IT. Welcome.
Thank you. All right, for zoning, two new one-step final plats were heard by the planning commission, last week. And a tabled preliminary plat from December was heard by the planning commission in January. One or two of the plats could be heard by council next month. The preliminary plat is just the okay to go back to planning commission with a final plat, once they get everything corrected, and it's a big one, so it might take a while before we see that. IT, I did write down nothing to report at this time. That has changed this week. On our website, I posted a document saying that the city of Kechi is looking at RFPs for an IT company. It's a matter of comparing what we've got to what is out there to see if we can get better service or a better deal, things of that nature. With Microsoft being down for the rest of North America today, Thomas let me know that earlier. I was wondering why I wasn't getting emails. I had two people wanting to set up meetings today for this week or next week. And then somebody left a voicemail that comes in on email, so I didn't get that until 6:30 tonight. So we are doing that. For stormwater, getting the MS4 2025 stormwater report completed. That's due by the end of February. That's going along and everything looks to be okay on it. Code enforcement, two items have been brought up in the last couple of weeks. Emails, phone calls have resolved those issues without need of further action. I do need to follow up with them just to make sure that they are taken care of.
Council, any comments, questions? Okay, I have one. Looking for the new IT service, is that part of what our regular budget already included? With that RFP that's been put out, was that budgeted for 2026?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that was my only question. So, thank you, Justin.
Yeah.
Okay, and finally, City Administrator Jency for the administration report.
Mayor and council, in front of you, you have my report. I'm not gonna go through the whole thing, but I will highlight a couple things. This month, we completed all of our annual reviews for our employees, both our department heads and our administrative staff. We recognize the retirement of Earl Findley from the Public Works Department. He is supposed to no longer be with us, but I think he comes up on a regular basis. He can't stay away. Our holiday schedules resulted in some limited staffing during the last couple months. And this really highlights the volume of the work that's performed around here and the importance of flexibility of cross coverage. So one position knowing what the other position is, and being able to cross-train and cover for one another so people can be out and on vacation and days off. Of course, we had our health insurance renewal. Technology and communication, Dustin just kind of covered that, what we're looking at. Met with the business owners on Huffman Drive to come to a resolution for fixing the road up there. We just met again last week, getting some additional information from TEC, some new numbers, and we will bring that back to council next month to let you know what our discussions resulted in from that meeting. But I think we're on a good path. We really been a lot of things go on in the past, a lot of promises made, promises not fulfilled, and I think we've got past some of those, and we know that we need to work together to get that road fixed, and I think we're gonna come up with a good solution. Meetings I've attended, of course, the Sedgwick County Association of Cities meeting, monthly local government networking meeting, which is a monthly meeting of city administrators and city managers. We all get together once a month and talk about current issues, issues within our city, issues within the region, throughout the state, and sometimes even federally. Met with Park City City Administrator to discuss current events in our respective cities, different things that are going on. We try to meet on a regular basis. Sometimes that doesn't always work out, but the Park City Administrator and the Bel Air City Manager and myself have good working relationships, and we're able to get a lot accomplished between the two cities. Submitted a grant to Kansas Department of Health and Environment for the proposed playground pour-in-place surface. We're waiting to hear back on that. It's a follow-up with them yesterday. Attended park board meetings, planning commission meetings, and met with numerous citizens, developers, fielding questions about city business. I'll stand for any questions you might have next to my report.
Council, any questions?
Do you have an update for us on the project on Oliver next to Jumpstart?
Yeah, we have a pre-construction meeting next Thursday up here at City Hall with the contractor, city engineers, city staff. And it's just kind of the kickoff meeting for that. So usually after those pre-construction meetings, or pre-con meetings that they call them, then they get to work right after that. So everything's been funded, contracts have been signed, tax certificates have been issued, so they're just waiting to put a shovel in the ground.
Just get that question asked frequently, so
Yeah.
if I could have an answer, that's great.
Yeah, I think the developer would have wanted to have that well before the first of the year. And that's what he was pushing for, but it didn't work out that way. But the city's been ready. We were just waiting on other people.
Thank you.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Aldridge, second by Councilmember Moreland. All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
4-0. Thank you. Have a nice evening.